Recently I rode a Roica Britannia, which is a vintage bike race. It's based on La Roica. The La Roica is a vintage bike race held since 1997 in the Tuscan Hills, absolutely beautiful. You have to ride a pre-1987 road bike. It has to have down tube shifters, the cabling has to go along the outside. You're not allowed clipless pedals. All in all, it's quite a fun event. You're encouraged to wear wool jerseys and shorts. I did that. I probably won't ever do that again. It was a very hot day. 4 years ago, La Roica came to the UK. It's been in Derbyshire for those 4 years. It's in the Peak District. It's a lot of fun, and I did it on a very special bike, a bike that's very special to me, a 1983 Raleigh Sprint. Now I'll tell you why this bike is special to me. When I was a kid, in the early 80s, BMXing was all the rage over here in the UK, and of course it had come over from the United States, where all great things are invented. I wanted a Raleigh burner, which was an iconic 1980s BMX bike for British kids. So it was on my Christmas list. I wanted one desperately, and it's probably Christmas 1982. I came down the stairs, it was dark, I went into the sitting room, and there were some handlebars poking up by the Christmas tree. I was very excited, it's got to be a Raleigh burner. So I flicked on the light, and my mum and dad had decided that the perfect bike for a 10-year-old boy child would be a universal shopper. A Polish shopping bike that folded in the middle. I was going to look a right wally on that, and I did look a right wally on that. My mum and dad reasoned, my dad in particular, is quite risk averse, he reasoned that BMX would be too dangerous for little Robbie. Obviously I moaned and moaned and moaned, and a year later Dad kind of gave up, and he said, all right son, I'm going to buy you a Raleigh, because he talks a bit like that. He bought me a Raleigh, but he still wouldn't buy me a Raleigh burner, so I got a Raleigh Sprint drop bar road bike. So basically my introduction to road cycling. Quite rightly, my father reasoned that doing stunts on a BMX, putting trick nuts on, that'd be dangerous, but having a road bike that I could ride on the A25 without a crash helmet, one of the busiest roads in Surrey, would be really safe. Well done, Dad. So fast forward 33 years, myself and Deputy Editor Paul Robson are talking about our first road bikes. Turns out we both had a Raleigh Sprint in the early 80s. So we set to looking on eBay, another great American invention, I think. We found a Raleigh Sprint. It was a 23-inch Raleigh Sprint, so my size. Result, £50. That's an absolute bargain. I paid for it, I bought it, I went and picked it up, took it to Blackbeard Cycles, which is a vintage bike shop right next to our office, and had some work done on it, had a simplex front derailleur, new old stock, added to it so that I could use the full extent of my gears. It's a 5-speed bike, so I had a mighty 10 gears, a full 12 less than I'm used to. This is not a climbing bike. The bike weighs, it's really impressive actually, 13.8 kilos. That's quite heavy. It's made of steel. It's 1823 steel. It proudly boasts that it's got some carbon in it, like all steel, but this steel is actually the really sort of the basic stuff that Raleigh were using in the 1980s. It's the kind of steel that you could probably make pipes out of to transport gas and water around your house in the 80s. So not a light bike. It's got Wyman brakes with suicide levers on the top. They're the sort of, you can get those now on cross bikes. They're not called suicide levers anymore because it's pretty un-PC, but you can grab them and kind of stop. Pedal wise, it came with some flats, that metal sort of bear trap flats, I guess, that I couldn't fit toe clips to. So I did have to buy some new pedals, but they're old style genetic track pedals. Added some toe clips, not clipless mind. Saddle, it had a Cell Royale, kind of like rubber basically, a rubber saddle, which felt quite comfortable. The problem is it was kind of nailed onto the seat post, and the seat post is about that long, so I couldn't actually get it to my desired height. So I did have to buy a new seat post, and I put on a new saddle, but it's a Brooks Cambion, so it's a classic saddle. No worries there about breaking any Eroica rules. I added to that a Hackett of London leather saddle bag into which I could put my tools. I had to carry 3 spanners because the wheels don't have quick release. If I'd got a puncture, I probably would have been there for days. And the spanners in the saddle bag make a lovely clanking noise as you ride along. A couple of other things that I kept original about the bike: reflectors, left those on the wheels, and reflectors on the front and back of the bike because that just kind of gives it that really nice early 80s charm. As for Eroica Britannia, it's an absolutely fantastic event. Do it if you can, do an Eroica, really good fun. The bike though, would I want to go 55 miles on it again? Probably not. You could really feel the weight on the hills. The lack of gearing was apparent. I had to really honk the bike up the hill. I'd imagine I look like a classic Tour de France rider, someone like Merckx or Anquetil, just really all over the bike, up and down on the saddle, swearing a lot. It was hard work, particularly for the off-road sections. They were frightening. The bars are only about 30 centimetres wide on the tops, 38 at their widest. I usually use 42. That feels really constricted and horrible actually. You can't ride on the hoods, there's hardly any hood to speak of, so it's really hard to get a particularly comfortable position. The bike also feels really short. Downhill though, that was probably the most worrying thing. The brakes, the kind of brakes, they're called brakes, but they don't work like modern brakes. They're nowhere near as good as modern rim brakes. The suicide brakes are next to useless. This is going to really annoy people, but I really wanted disc brakes when I was on that bike. They really made me think, disc brakes, they're the future, yes! But I did enjoy riding it. It's a different type of cycling. I've used it since for my 15-mile commute, and it's a lot slower, it's a lot more leisurely. Bikes are just for having fun, and that's kind of something that I've really found about riding the Raleigh Sprint. It's kind of reinvigorated a little bit my love for the bicycle. So that's not a bad thing, is it? I guess it's also made me appreciate a little bit more what my dad was doing at the time. Of course, in 1983, I really wanted that BMX. I still do. But thanks, Dad. If he hadn't have bought me the Raleigh Sprint, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be the editor of Britain's best-selling road cycling magazine because I wouldn't have any interest in road cycling. And that's a good thing.